For me, fashion is undoubtedly something extremely important. And this stems not only from my profession as a fashion designer, but also because I am a woman, a human being, and someone sensitive to the world around me. Fashion has become, I believe, the most accessible medium for conveying what is happening in the world, what pains people, what brings them joy. Undoubtedly, fashion has transformed into a form of applied art, the most accessible to everyone. That's where its power lies and why I believe it plays such an important role today. To study at the Academy of Fine Arts, you definitely need a lot of curiosity about life. You need to approach life with enthusiasm, interest, and a desire to uncover all the beauty around us. This is the essence of studying art. Art is everywhere, and while it may sound a bit simplistic, but if you delve into the topic, you'll realize it's true. Art is everywhere, and all it takes is opening yourself up to the world around you. In the fashion department, the educational process is incredibly broad, and it's hard to describe in just one sentence. The foundation of this process is, quite fittingly, the fashion design course. There, we learn how to take an idea and develop it, first into individual silhouettes and then into full collections. Supporting this process are courses like textile design and material science. Additionally, we're supported by computer graphics workshops, sculpture and multimedia workshops, making the subject truly interdisciplinary. The drawing workshop also plays a crucial role, especially when it comes to design, making it, in my opinion, one of the most important workshops, as the ability to translate ideas into sketches, to bring our concepts to life visually before moving on to garment construction and eventually the final silhouette, is critical. We also learn the basics of tailoring itself, with access to extensive tailoring and construction resources. This is vital for us because our designs often tend to be highly experimental. We also study material science, where we learn not only about dyeing materials ourselves, but also manipulating them, meaning transforming flat surfaces into textures, playing with textures, and exploring the energy each material can convey. I think fashion is a fantastic thing in and of itself because it's so deeply connected to us in some way. Everyone participates in fashion, whether they want to or not. I feel that designing fashion now is different from how it was in the past. We're currently in a bit of a challenging moment. A lot has already been created. There's this concept of post-fashion. We're in a phase where we rely heavily on fashion that's already been made and try to build our own vision of how we see the world based on that. I was never particularly interested in fashion, and I think many people believe that you have to be involved in it from an early age, designing and engaging with it since childhood. But I don't think that's necessary. Coming in with a fresh perspective on fashion is also valuable. I believe fashion can be learned, just like anything else. It's a skill. Some people may be more naturally inclined toward it and need to put in less effort, while others more. I think everyone contributes to fashion in some way, even, for instance, by pairing different shoes with a different dress. Whether intentional or not, they're creating fashion. And that, to me, is one of the most fantastic aspects of fashion. Schools like this one provide students with a deep understanding of how expansive the subject of art is, how interdisciplinary it is, and how rich the world is with various experiences. As an artist, I'm at a stage where I'm defining my own aesthetic and the themes around which I want my work to revolve. These studies give me the space to explore and express this, specifically, in my case, through fashion silhouettes. In general, I think men's clothing, particularly high-end, elegant menswear, is relatively dull. It all revolves around suits, simple trousers, and straightforward two-piece silhouettes. There's none of the finesse, color, or flair that you see in women's fashion. I feel that this is what's missing in men's fashion, and I'd love to be at the forefront of that change. On the international stage, especially in fashion, students from our university, particularly from the fashion department, are highly valued because they're so versatile. Our university and program prepares students to handle practically any situation by providing a strong foundation in areas like garment construction, tailoring, material science, and drawing. All these small components come together to shape us and our skills, enabling us to succeed in any scenario, including abroad. This versatility often puts us ahead of students from competing international institutions. In our museum, we have a department of clothing and fashion, which I head. Our collection includes garments spanning from the 19th century to the present day. By examining these pieces, we can trace the entire history of fashion in Poland and how it evolved. These are primarily items originating from our country. The early history of Polish fashion is quite complex. Of course, we can talk about the national costume that was prominent during the times of the Sarmatian nobility. We can also discuss Polish fashion during the period when Poland regained its independence. However, I believe the most significant turning point in Polish fashion was the post-war period. When the approach to clothing production changed completely. Previously, garments were tailor-made by craftspeople. Ready-to-wear clothing, or mass-produced garments, was not as widespread as it was, for example, in Western countries. This changed after the war, with the establishment of a new government in Poland, which decided to produce clothing on a mass scale in factories and workshops. Over the years, curators of the collection have worked to expand it to include everyday fashion, not just formal or ball attire, which is the focus of other museums in the country, but also street fashion that people associate with stores and daily life. Our collection includes items from fashion houses that operated during the Polish People's Republic, such as the Telimena and Moda Polska fashion houses. These two houses set the trends nationwide, showcasing how Polish women were expected to dress during that era. The concept of fashion as art was especially prominent in the 1980s in Poland, when designers, initially employed in industry and clothing factories, began experimenting independently and creating so-called unique fashion. These garments were designed and produced in very limited quantities, often as one-of-a-kind pieces. Initially, these unique items were sold in art galleries and clothing galleries. In the 1990s, designers began opening their own boutiques, where they sold their original creations. The history of Łódź is inextricably linked to the textile industry, so it was only natural that if a textile museum were to be established in Poland, it would be in Łódź. The first ideas for this appeared in the 1930s, before the Second World War, but the practical realization came after the war. It was truly a revolutionary idea in the 1950s to take an old textile factory, specifically the White Factory, away from the Ministry of Industry, remove it from production facilities, and repurpose it through revitalization for cultural purposes. While this kind of initiative is common today, it was the first of its kind in Poland and likely in Europe. The history of the textile industry in Łódź began in the 1820s, when the city was designated as a factory town, which, in modern terms, could be compared to establishing a special economic zone. Specialists and immigrants started arriving in Łódź from abroad, including areas like Greater Poland, then part of Prussia, and regions of Germany, such as Saxony. Upon arriving in Łódź, these settlers were given land, tax exemptions, and other benefits, including exemption from military service, in exchange for starting textile production within a specified time frame. One such immigrant was Ludwig Geyer, who arrived in Łódź in 1828. He started modestly with a putting-out system, employing hand weavers who produced fabrics that he then decorated through printing. Within a few years, his business flourished, allowing him to take out a loan and construct a building, this very one we are in today. This building became the first multi-department textile factory in Łódź, housing a spinning mill, weaving mill, and finishing plant, with the entire production process powered by a steam engine.
Mody polskiej, która oczywiście funkcjonowała przez lata od 50.
Here we have an example of Polish fashion, which, of course, has been evolving over the years since 1958. Most of the items we present in this exhibition come from the 1990s. This is a significant collection donated to the museum by Jerzy Antkowiak, arguably the most famous Polish fashion designer. Polish fashion is not just about what was proposed by manufacturers or designers. It also includes garments we made ourselves, created at home or by local seamstresses, requiring creativity from those crafting them. There were many moments when Polish women had to be resourceful to look beautiful, fashionable, and elegant on the streets.
Wyglądać pięknie, modnie, żeby móc się pokazać elegancko na ulicy. W naszym muzeum na
In our museum's exhibition City, Fashion, Machine, we also feature a bazaar. The bazaar represents a phenomenon of the 1990s, when stadiums, which had ceased generating revenue, were converted into marketplaces where everything, including clothing, was sold. Jerzy Antkowiak once remarked that Polish fashion declined when bazaars emerged. While we do not intend to glorify this phenomenon or this type of fashion,
tego rodzaju mody, natomiast myślę, że jest to na tyle ważna część.
We believe it is an essential part of our fashion history that must be acknowledged. The Central Museum of Textiles in Łódź also collects contemporary fashion. Our collection includes designs by Gosia Baczyńska, Mikołaj Żurek, and Rad Duet, Ania Kuczyńska. This is a new direction the museum has taken, aiming to capture what is currently happening in Polish fashion. Our largest collection, however, is that of Arkadiusz, probably the most internationally renowned Polish designer, who gained significant recognition abroad in the early 2000s. Our collection includes over 400 pieces by Arkadiusz, which we acquired in 2020, partly through purchase and partly as a donation. Nearly 50% of these are displayed in the exhibition Arkadiusz, Great Passions and Confrontations. Fashion is undoubtedly more than just clothing. It is an expression of human thought. Today, a designer is also an artist, especially one emerging from our Academy of Fine Arts in Łódź. As a fine arts institution, our students studying fashion design also participate in workshops in sculpture, painting, graphic arts, animation, and many other creative fields. For them, fashion is an integral part of their artistic expression, a medium they resonate with, excel in, and use to communicate their innermost thoughts and emotions. From my perspective, to be a good designer, one must first and foremost possess sensitivity and an ability to observe both the streets, what people desire, the emerging trends, while at the same time, a designer must have the strength of character to guide others, to set trends that are personally meaningful. These qualities are, in my view, essential. Not everyone can be a fashion designer. You must be convincing and genuinely want to wear the fashion you create. Often, our students' designs are a direct reflection of who they are, conveying a piece of their soul and sensitivity in the collections they produce. This process is akin to a painter creating a masterpiece or a sculptor crafting a sculpture. Our academy educates both professional fashion designers for large corporations and unique individuals who make a mark on the Polish and even international fashion scenes.
Jak i również absolutne indywidualności, które istnieją na naszym rynku, a nawet można powiedzieć już znane są na światowym rynku mody. I tutaj chciałabym wymienić Łukasza Jemiała.
Notable alumni include Łukasz Jemioł, Paprocki and Brzozowski, Adrian Krupa, Agata Wojtkiewicz, Maria Wiatrowska, the MMC duo, Ilona Mayer and Rafał Michalak, and Michał Schulz. Some of these individuals are also lecturers at our academy, which I consider a significant advantage. Our students have the opportunity to learn directly from these experts, work alongside them, and gain skills from masters who have proven, through their professional work, that it is possible to create their own brands and achieve great success both in Poland and abroad.
Łódź Young Fashion to jest jedno z wydarzeń, które stworzyliśmy z myślą o młodych właśnie projektantach.
Łódź Young Fashion is one of the events we established with young designers in mind. It features competitions, fashion shows, workshops, and exhibitions, serving as a summary of current trends and what young designers want to express and showcase. The event is meant to be a springboard to success. The Golden Thread is the most prestigious fashion competition in Poland. It has been running for nearly 30 years. It enjoys immense popularity among young designers and is executed at the highest level, involving professional directors, models. Everything is at the highest professional level, from scenography to dressing rooms and makeup, and everything else necessary to bring such an event to life. It feels wonderful to win, because I feel that my sensitivity has been understood in some way, allowing me to share my inner self even more. My collection is complete. It includes clothing, jewelry, bags, and accessories. It reflects my subconscious, my sensitivity, and it draws inspiration from my childhood, but most importantly, from what lies deep within me. I listen to that very intently. These are the main aspects that inspire my work. This collection is rooted in my universe, which I call Universe 22. The name comes from the number of my grandparents' townhouse, and it is there that I set the entire narrative and story of my project. It's a journey back to the past. I draw a great deal of inspiration from my family archive. I've always browsed through family photos, extracting inspiration from them, the graphical or structural,
inspiracje, czy to graficzne, czy to w formie. Bawię się w
I play with these elements in different ways. Of course, vision is very surreal, and I understand that not everyone might wear something like this on the street. However, I love playing with fashion. For me, there are no limitations, and whether someone tells me it's practical or not doesn't matter.
Najmniejszego znaczenia, ponieważ
It is ultimately the designer, or the person wearing the clothes, who decides what is functional, or what feels most comfortable and resonates with them. For me, this collection absolutely resonates with who I am. Fashion, above all, is art to me, and I think that is often forgotten. It gets trivialized because people view clothing only as something practical and comfortable to wear.
Ludzie jednak traktują ubiór tylko i wyłącznie jako coś, co mogą właśnie założyć, jest komfortowe, ale
But we forget that it is, in essence, a sculpture, something three-dimensional that we build from scratch.
musimy od początku do zera zbudować. Zajmuje to
It takes an enormous amount of time. So I believe it's important to emphasize that fashion is primarily an art form.
dziedzina sztuki, która dodatkowo
It gains character and soul when a person wears it.
poprzez to, kiedy człowiek ją zakłada.
If I were to talk about Polish fashion, I believe that the younger generation is doing an excellent job of expressing their inner selves in beautiful ways.
W piękny sposób potrafi zaprezentować swoje wnętrze, ponieważ uważam, że właśnie ubiór gdzieś jest
To me,
wyzwoleniem.
clothing is a form of liberation for our character and sensitivity.
Dlatego są,
I think many individuals are experimenting and bringing curiosity to their work.
w jakiś sposób i myślę, że tutaj możemy jak najbardziej wybić się
Allowing Polish fashion to stand out in Europe and beyond. We are certainly not lagging behind. I believe that the golden thread has opened doors for me,
bramy i jak najbardziej widzę siebie
and I absolutely see myself continuing as a designer. Fashion is an inseparable aspect of my creative journey.
w mojej twórczości.